Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything?
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
The
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Monday, February 9th, 2026. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil. Episode 412. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. Coming up this week, Phil's article will be out on Tuesday, breaking down the game we're about to go over, Bandits versus Wings. We got an interview with someone from Halifax Thunderbirds coming out on Wednesday. It's already scheduled. It's ready to go. Interviewing on Monday. But again, I've learned my lesson in the past. I'm not releasing any names in case something changes. Power rankings and Week 11 pick'em will be out on Thursday. And then Friday, we will be previewing Halifax versus Bandits 2.0 on today's episode. As you can tell, we're recording before the Super Bowl because it's nice and sunny, so it's on my face and I look all bushy-tailed and bright-eyed. We got Bandits versus Wings. We're going to go over that game. We got Week 11 outlook across the NLL. We got Sabres going on break if we have time for that, but I didn't have time to add this, so I found it real quick. That's the warning sound. I might have to edit the actual audio part. I don't know how loud it went through the microphone, but the Bandits lost to the worst team in the NLL, which means are the Bandits the worst team in the NLL right now? They lost 13-11 versus the Wings on Saturday night in Banditland in front of what was claimed to be a sellout, apparently. That had to be at least 5,000 to 7,000 people less. Maybe because of the cold, maybe because tickets were bought and then they found out the team was on a 3-game losing streak. I don't know, but there was not a sellout in there. There was no chance that was a sellout. Maybe all the tickets were sold, but that was not a sellout. McKay had 3, Bucky and Smith had 2, Nanakoke, Nielsen, Priolo, and Scanlon each had 1. Vince, 34 of 47 saves. Shots were 57 to 47 in favor of Buffalo. The faceoffs went to Buffalo, 17-11. Power play, 2 for 5 for Philly, 1 for 2 for Buffalo. Phil, before the big time rants of Phil, overall outlook, thoughts, like put it all together in like a 30 to 60 minute thing, overview on what we witnessed on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, it started great. And I was really excited. I was like, okay, they're coming out hot. They're going to have a first quarter lead for the first time. And I was pumped. I was like, look at this team go. They learned their lesson and everything's going to be amazing. They're going to blow through Philly. They're going to beat Halifax. And then we'll see how the rest of the schedule goes. And then the wheels fell off miserably. And the entire game, I just kept waiting for them to take the game over. And they just refused to do so, and Philly was just lingering around. And then the later it got in the game, I was like, even if they win, we talked about this. Like, I still don't feel good about this team. Like, even if you get a win, I was just already coming up with the mentality of like, well, a win's a win, but that doesn't make me feel good about this team. And then they lost, so it went even worse than it could have. They look terrible. All assets, all parts of the game. I know the offense looked a little better. In times they looked good. Damoud had a good game, but I'm also sick of the excuse of the Bandits got goalied for the 100th game in a row. Like, their offense just keeps getting stood up by really good goaltending, and partly that is true, but that's also the NLL. Like, you can't just keep saying, like, oh, they ran into a hot goalie every single game. Like, yeah, again, part of it is accurate, but they also just need to find ways to score more. And then the defense is back-to-back games. They looked horrendous. I don't know what the defense was doing. Whatever system they're playing is terrible. There were times where they looked good, but for the most part, against one of the league's worst offenses, at least statistically, throughout the season so far, they looked really, really bad. And the whole game, I just kept waiting. Like, they kept it close at half, and then after half, I was like, okay, third quarter. This is when they'll kick it in, they'll do their adjustments, whatever needs to happen. Then it was 9-9 after 3, and I was like, okay, they've had really good fourth quarters in this season and in the past. Maybe they'll take over in the fourth and blow them out, and it just never happened. And they didn't look like a team that was playing as if this loss meant everything in the world to them, and it honestly looked like Philly cared more at times. Like, yes, there were big goals that the Bandits got where they showed a little bit of excitement and energy, but for the most part, it looked like Philly was outplaying them as far as desperation goes and as far as hustle goes. Like, they were getting a lot of secondary chances, which is something you discussed that Philly's not known for, not good at. They were still getting on offense. They were getting these secondary opportunities, and Buffalo wasn't. It didn't look like, to me, a team with their back against the wall, playoffs on the line. You desperately need to win this game. It looked like they were out there trying to fix things that aren't working well, but it was just another game, and if they lose, who cares? They have the rest of the season to fix it. Like, they just didn't play nearly as desperate as I wanted them to play.
So I agree with the majority of things you said. I'm not going to be... Please don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not going to be one of those ones that's like jumping off the bandwagon. I'm trying not to sound like the New England Patriots of old, like the Kansas City Chiefs of old, like everybody that's ignoring the past 5 years of greatness that this team has had. But you also need to address what we're actually seeing on the field, which is a team that's in shambles, a team that doesn't really have an identity right now, and a team that maybe for the last 3 weeks I was giving them too much credit, allowing them to be who they were in the past and work through it, because we saw 2 years ago they struggled versus Vancouver. They were 5-6. Everybody was kind of counting, okay, you're probably not going to get a home game. Even us were saying you're not going to get a home game, but I think playoffs are still in it. Like, to me, in the last almost 5 years of doing the show, that was the worst this team has been. Now we got to try to adjust how we're approaching this team, because I feel like the bar that we had for them of a championship title team has come back. Like, to me, the goalposts are always moving with teams like that, where like with the Bills, once they broke the drought and they got Josh Allen and they got Stephon Diggs and the defense was playing really good and they expected to make the playoffs year in, year out, you move the goalpost. Like, that's the way it is for the Sabres right now, how they're playing. You move the goalpost. They're expected to make the playoffs and make a competitive round one. To me, the Bandits are kind of like, you got to move the goalpost in a bit. Like, this is not a championship contending roster as is right now. This is not a team that's probably going to host a first round playoff. This is a team that's going to be struggling the rest of the season to get into a playoff spot and make the playoffs. Can they go on a big run? And would I be shocked if they would? No, not at all. Like, I fully expect them to, again, this is me basing off what I've seen in the past covering this team for 5 years, 5 seasons. I expect them to fix what is broken. I expect Steve Dietrich to go out there and make a move and improve this offense, and maybe Mitch DeSnu comes back on the defense, and maybe it is one big piece that is breaking this ship, even though for a couple weeks it seemed fine. But we do have to hold this team accountable for what we're seeing on the field, and to me, that's not good enough. Like, the offense, to an extent, has been a major issue the last 4 weeks. Like, it seems out of sorts. Yeah, this week looked the best it's been in 4 weeks, but you scored 11 goals. Josh Byrne is a shell of himself right now. Like, there has to be a reason. It can't just be his game fell off a cliff 4 games ago. Like, versus Vegas, he looked really good. The whole offense looked fantastic versus Vegas. And then since then, like, there needs to be some kind of explanation for Josh Byrne's game so far, because right now it looks bad. The secondary scoring's not there. I mean, they tried to put Lucas Nielsen in. I thought he did a decent job, but if you're relying on him to come in and be a secondary scorer, it's not going to happen. The defense, I thought they played better than Colorado, but Colorado was the bare minimum. Like, to me, it felt like every part of this team was a bit better than last week, but you're facing the league's worst team. It shouldn't be this difficult. Besides the first 440 when they were up 3-0, I thought Philly dominated the rest of the game. Like, the stats won't back that up, but what you saw on the field the offense for Philly was running circles around Buffalo's defense. Philly's defense was locking down Buffalo's offense. And Matt Vince was getting outplayed by Nick DeMute. Like, all top to bottom after that first 440, it felt like Philly, like you said, I'm not questioning Buffalo's effort. Like, the effort was there. I saw them putting in the effort. But to me, it felt like this game meant more to Philly than it did to Buffalo. And in the end, when you give up 4 straight goals with 6:07 left in the game, and all those goals were like in on top for the most part, it felt like Philly's offense just said, we need this win more than Buffalo does. And to me, I don't think Buffalo's in the position to play games like that anymore. 4 straight losses is 4 straight losses. Any other situation, yeah, they're going to go through slumps like this. But it's not just getting goalied anymore. It's the other team is outperforming you. And I am right there with you. I'm tired of the excuses of we got goalied, their other team's goalie just shut us down. It can't happen. Like, it just can't. You brought this team back, and I fully agreed with it, to try to go for run number 4. I think that was the perfect thing to do. It's just the pieces that Steve Dietrich has brought in so far to try to go for that 4th title, it hasn't worked. Like, the Benesh and the Scanlon and the Nielsen trying to step up hasn't worked to replace Kluch and Frazier. They haven't really filled that gap with Justin Martin. Yeah, you can blame injuries on the back end all you want, but eventually this was the team that was averaging 9.29 goals a game going into this one. They had not reached 10 double digits goals in how many games, and you let them put in 13. To me, that's unacceptable, and this to me is when we said if you lose to Philly, it's go time. Like, there's major issues with this team. I did not think I would be sitting here for all the joking we said on the last 2 episodes of you can't lose to Philly. Like, if you lose to Philly, the season's in Wonderland right now, and I think it really is. I know I kind of went on a rant there, but I think I stayed pretty calm. I don't think I overreacted. I thought I was logical and explained it pretty well, maybe. Question?
Yeah, no, it was pretty level-headed. Do we want to get into the game more? We
can dive into the offense now if you want. I mean, they put in 11 goals, but it just seemed like everything that they were trying to do I thought this was Ian McKay's best game of the year, and he was playing double minutes playing on the back end as well. But his stats line, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points, 7 shots on net, 8 loose balls, 1 block shot, 2 caused turnovers. I thought this was his best performance of the season.
2 goals called back.
Yeah, 2 goals called back. I thought this was his best performance of the year. It just stinks that Josh Byrne is going through the slump, or Scanlon didn't really provide much. Nielsen didn't really everybody's got a bit of numbers, but you're not getting if Josh Byrne was normal Josh Byrne in this one, you win the game. It's as simple as that. And I'm not fully putting all the blame on Josh Byrne, but when your top 2 goal scorers and top 2 point producers aren't both doing that, it puts more pressure on the back. And now that they don't have Kluch and Frazier, you're asking other guys who haven't done that in the past to do that. You're asking a guy who, yes, he put in 30 some odd goals last year, but this is his second full season playing full-time forward minutes. And to me, I think this is the moment where Steve Dietrich has to look around the league and find a big piece to bring into this offense if they want to fix this offense.
Give me half a second here. I do agree with everything you're saying, and I can't do math apparently. What is happening? 8 times 8.
I'll kind of go through the goals right now, but
yeah,
Burn
Smith
is
on
beats
pace for 27 goals, which is just like you were saying. Like, it's, to me, you don't want to put it all on him, but with the team they've currently constructed, so much of it relies on Dane and Josh being elite.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have the room anymore for them to have bad games. And if they do have a bad game, their bad game needs to be 2-3, 2-2. Like, Byrne having, was it 3 straight games now with only 1 goal and none of those in the first half?
He's had 3 in the last 4 games and none in the first half. And the goal last week versus Colorado was in the third quarter. That was the earliest he had scored in the last 4 games.
And it's frustrating to put so much on him, because it's not fair to put so much on one player. But when you're supposed to be an elite talent. Like, it's not like you're looking for like a secondary option to step up. Like, Josh Byrne is one of the best in the entire league. And right now, again, I think you and I both agree, he hasn't just magically lost his touch or lost his abilities.
Yeah,
Something's
something
going
going
on with him. It's probably injury related, even if they're not saying anything. We'll find out after the season that he's got 16 torn muscles and is like limping out there and barely fighting.
And like you mentioned, he came into the season injured from the MSL. So
yes, something's going on.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with this team, is that, like, if he's having a bad season, which right now, by his standards, he's not the worst player, but he's still at 4 assists. He's not out there doing absolutely nothing. He's still having an okay year, but by his standards and what this team needs, he's having a rough season. And like this team last year,
he's
like
16th in points right now. And
Right.
to me, he's a top 6 point producer in this league.
Yeah. And again, it's the goals more than anything. Like, yes, the assists are still there, and that's fine, but that's not what this team needs right now. And this team needs a goal scorer of his caliber to be putting in, on average, 3 goals a game, at least 2. Like, they just don't have the depth scoring this year for him to be having this kind of slump as far as goal scoring goes. And like you said, like, yes, this game, Mickey had a really great game. And the game before, Nanticoke had a pretty good game. And like, the secondary scoring seems to pick one night for each player. But when Josh Byrne isn't putting up 2-3 goals, that secondary scoring with that one player having 2 or 3 goals isn't enough to carry the rest of the team. And Smith in this game, this is nothing against him, he had a good game, but he had 22 shots.
Career high.
And the next highest was 7 across the board. Like, way too much is being put on Dane right now. And I think Dane is doing everything humanly possible to keep this team afloat. He looks fine. He's trying so much, and he's actually having a pretty good year so far, even by his standard. By his standards, it might be not the best year, but typical standards, he's still having a good year. 2-5 for 7 in this game was fine. He got the shorthanded goal, which was big, and there were a few times he had monster opportunities right in front of the net that he just missed. So, but, and again, I don't want to put it all on Byrne, but Byrne's lack of goal scoring is really sinking this team, because the depth opportunities behind them just aren't there this year, and nobody's really stepping up. And you guys said it in your interview that no one from the depth side is really taking over. And even Nanticoke in this game, just the 1 goal, like, it's not consistent enough behind Dane and Josh. And when Josh is also struggling, like, the whole team is just kind of being dragged down.
Yeah, and I think even if there is that explanation of he's not actually injured, I think the second explanation is there's nobody behind Josh Byrne right now that is a threat on that side. And you were kind of expecting Ian McKay to repeat the season he had last year, while the book was out on him. That the goalie studied his film, they know what he's doing, and on top of that, his play has not been what it was last year. Like, I think even he would admit it, he's not playing the same as he was last year. There's a lot of drop balls, a lot of missed passes, a lot of balls that get by him where he's going to the crease and just misses. But I think that's also part of it, is that the other teams aren't afraid of the depth scoring on the left side or even the right side, so they're able to target Dane and Josh nonstop.
Yep.
Where in the past, you had Kluch, you had Frazier, and yes, we talked about those losses, but going into the season, I really thought the biggest loss on this team was going to be Justin Martin. And outside of the Colorado game, and in parts in this game, I thought the defense has held up very well. I thought it was the offense that has been lackluster. So now looking back, hindsight 2020, I mean, Kluch and Frazier were massive losses that they just did not replace with production. They were expecting Scanlon to take that next step. They were expecting Benesh to come in and just replicate what Chris Cloutier was doing, and he's lost a step, and that's why he was a healthy scratch last game. You look at the right side. I don't know if they were expecting Nanticoke to take that next step and be more of a Chase Frazier, but he excelled in that role in prior years. Maybe they were expecting Lucas Nielsen to be the next Chase Frazier and to put more load on him, and that if he wasn't ready, Mike Triolo would take the step up. But this team's released 3 players in the last 2 weeks after 2 games. It's to me, this is the statement, and this is the week where Steve Dietrich has to make a move, because if you, I know we're looking a little bit too far forward, but this is kind of the part of the offense here. If they don't add a piece to this offense, coming up Saturday versus Halifax, to me, the loser of that game is now make the playoffs. Because I understand if Buffalo loses to Halifax, Halifax has the advantage. They have the spot in the standings. That's a bigger must win than this game. Like, this game was a must win looking at the schedule. If you lose to Halifax, they have the head to head. You drop to 3-6, half your season's over, and it's not just where you are in the standings, it's how many teams you have to leapfrog ahead of. So to me, looking forward, this is the week where if Steve Dietrich's going to make a move, you have to make a move. And I believe I listened to OTCB, and they said that the trade deadline's March 9th. You can't wait to March 9th to make a move. Like, it needs to be done before this Halifax game if you're going to fix this offense, unless something just magically switches versus this Halifax defense. But for as bad as Halifax has been, their defense is better than Philly's. So, I mean, something's got to change here. But this offense, like we've mentioned for a couple weeks now, and I think it just got hammered home in this one, the depth with this bad stretch of games for Josh Byrne is not good enough to have those stretches. And yes, is it putting way too much pressure and eyes on Josh Byrne? Probably. But he's not having the same type of season. And is that injury related? Or is that other teams are just able to target him nonstop because they don't believe that anybody behind him is going to be able to beat him? And in prior years, they had those players, but they didn't now. And yes, McKay had 2 goals that one of them was 100% a goal, in my opinion. The one that was underneath the crossbar and then in the net, 100% a goal. But the double doink, that one ain't a goal. Like, it did not cross the line whatsoever. People are saying maybe the net's got to change, that extending the actual netting part. I'm tired of the excuses. Like, it's not the net's fault. It's not the ref's fault. It's not, the getting goalied. This is fully on the Buffalo Bandits that you're not finishing the jobs. And the offense, to me, is still the biggest issue right now. I full faith the defense is going to turn it around. You add in a Mitch DeSnoo, that's the problem, though. The offense doesn't have that Mitch DeSnoo that's out right now that can come in and fill it. The defense is relying on Mitch DeSnoo. If Mitch DeSnoo comes back and the defense is still in the issue that it's in right now, I'll be able to target them more. But they have the built-in excuse of one of the best defenders in the league has not been in. The offense doesn't have that excuse right now. The offense is what it is based on the players that are on the team, and that's what's most concerning. That's why I'm talking mostly about the offense being at fault with this one.
Yeah, I mean, we can, if you're ready to switch to the defense, I feel like
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
The offense.
Damoud, I'm not taking away from Nick Damoud. I'm not. He was phenomenal in this one.
He did.
It's just you can't keep using the excuse of you got goalied. It's that simple. You have to be able to beat good goalies if you want to be another championship team. And I'm not saying anything that they don't already know because they've been to 5 straight finals. I'm just an idiot behind a microphone talking about it. But I really think Nick Damoud, I'm not taking away for anything from Nick Damoud. He played phenomenal. He made the saves he needed to, and he was making big breakaway saves. Buffalo had their chances. They just didn't finish.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just look at the even strength, I know shorthanded goals are impressive, even though you gave up 2 and got 2, so that was kind of a wash. But you got 2 shorthanded goals and 1 power play goal. Like, yes, the shorthanded are really impressive, and those are big goals and everything like that, but that means out of the 11, you only got 8 on even strength, just head-to-head offense, and that's not good enough. And again, Damoud, when they had their big opportunities, Damoud was there to shut them down. But it's just an annoying excuse to keep using for your offense that just should be better.
Yeah, and we can translate to the defense here. I kind of mentioned it. I said Michael Sowers. Nobody wanted to listen, and he put up 4. And yeah, O'Neill carried the load in the first half. Sowers took over in the second half. And watching him break down the defenders, he did it to Belter once. He did it to Cam Wires a couple times. He did it to that jab step that he put on Dylan Robinson, put Dylan Robinson in a blender. Like, that was one of the things that I was most afraid of going against Michael Sowers because of his speed, because of the elements that he adds from the field game to the box game, that our defense is just a tad too slow right now. Like, you got to call it how it is. They're not that quick of a defense. They're a bit older, but you were beating some of the younger guys on this offense. Like, Buffalo's defense is big and strong. And I think it is time to start talking about what the quote-unquote Bandits rule did to this defense, where it's forcing them out and not able to pack it in, which means the defense has got to move more. You got to be more agile, and I just don't think that Buffalo has the pieces to do that. I'm not fully blaming them because this defense was constructed before the rule was put in place.
Right.
Like the team was formed based on the rules that were in the past. And I'm not using that as an excuse. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But you need to factor that in when you're talking about, okay, why is the defense struggling the way it is right now? It's because it was built for last year's play style, where they could pack it in, where they were making you beat, quote unquote, 3 goaltenders. But I do think that it's about time that we do acknowledge that this shot blocking rule, while they've only got called once for it, and in this game, which I still have an issue with how they're calling it, but that's a different story. I do think that that's playing a big factor in why this team is breaking down on defense when it is. They were breaking down later in the quarters. If you look at the goals that were scored, how many of these were scored early in the quarters? Not very many. Halfway through the first quarter, that's when Philly was putting it in. Second quarter, yeah, they had one early one, but then they had another late one. In the second quarter, it was towards the back end, especially in the fourth quarter. All 4 of those goals, 5:32 or less in the game left. Like, I think this defense is getting worked in the early parts of the quarters, early parts of the games, that in the end of it, because they're bigger and they have to move more, that is putting more wear and tear on their legs, and offenses are exposing it. So I do think that on top of the issues and the lack of communication on the back end, the shot blocking rule that's in place now has hindered the Buffalo Bandits' defensive style because they were built for the old way of playing.
Yeah, I didn't like the defense in this game. I thought a lot of the goals were their fault, but it's because of exactly what you just described in every way. It's not necessarily the shot blocking that's the issue now. It's they're no longer able to stand really low and push out, not allowing teams to get inside, and teams, like you said, have figured that out. And I think a big part of it is also the communication between everybody. Like if somebody gets around someone, it doesn't seem like
help.
Yeah, there's no backside help. And when it does come, it's too late. And the amount of times that, even like you said, the amount of times that Sowers or other players on Philly were able to literally just
Kyle Jackson
around. Yeah, exactly.
That 12th one, he ran through the entire defense on his wrong side.
And just literally ran around them because he's faster, and then found his way to the middle with nobody stepping up, nobody cutting over. And the other problem was in this game, again, I don't want to say they didn't have effort, because that's not what I'm trying to say, but they didn't look like a desperate team to me. And at some point, especially early in the game, we often see the Bandits make a statement of, you're not coming to the middle, you're not coming to the crease, you're not getting low. There was none of that. And Philly just kept doing it over and over and over with no punishment. Like, somebody needs to leave their man and just go lay somebody out who's coming to the middle and just end it and be like, okay, you're done. Like, you're not getting to this part of the floor anymore. And they didn't. And Philly just kept doing it over and over and just continued to get inside. And that's what annoyed me about the defense, was the amount of inside shots that Philly was able to get, and just right in Vince's face. And yes, you can say that Vince didn't come up with those big saves when they needed him to. When they got inside, he wasn't coming up with the classic Vince, like, okay, even though they got inside, I was able to shut him down kind of save to keep this team afloat. But the defense, to me, just did a really bad job. And even when some of the far out shots that were happening, the outside ones, they would be a step too slow getting out to the player and not challenging him. And Dawson was the one a few times. He got 4 blocks in this game. That's great. The amount of times he just throws his hands up instead of going and attacking a player to get in their space and get in their way and go and check him so he doesn't have a free shot was very frustrating to watch. And the defense as a whole, I still don't think they're the problem. I don't think they were the issue necessarily in this game as to why they lost, but you did allow a team that was held to 7 goals for 3 straight games to drop 13 on you, and they made it look a lot easier than they should have with the talent that's on this defense. And part of it can be communication with McCannell now being in there, with Belter being back in the lineup. Like, it seemed like they were a little bit off. And again, the backside help is just lost. It looks like the whole time. They just look very disjointed. And again, it doesn't make sense for a team that 2 games ago looked good. Like, the defense looked solid, and they've had rotating pieces, and they still
versus one of the best offenses in the league in Ottawa. Yeah,
right. And they've had so many rotating pieces, but they haven't been the issue. Like, even with these substitute players all over the place, even Dooley getting in this game, I didn't think Dooley looked bad. Like, Dooley looked fine, and he's another new piece-ish to the defense. You know, it's not someone that's played very much, so you see the lineup changes, but they've been able to fight through that earlier in the season. Now all of a sudden, these last couple of games, they look just off, and I don't get what happened all of a sudden that they looked this bad and just getting beat the way they did.
Yeah, I definitely think that. Again, I'm not going to keep harping on it, but the shot blocking rule,
Yeah.
I would like to know when teams were alerted that could be a possibility. Like, I know it didn't get put through.
And you see them, like, I didn't want to bring this up, but you see them trying to adjust to that now. Like, you got rid of Matisse to bring Dooley in, and I thought Dooley looked fine, and he's young and fast. You brought McCannell in, who's a little bit quicker than some of the players out there and has that speed and that athleticism to the defense. You brought Desnu in to bring that athleticism. I know he's not playing right now, but they're trying to slowly switch over, but there's still the Dawsons that are out there that are a little bit slower, that, again, he's making good veteran moves. He's got block shots. He's doing things correctly. I'm not saying the whole game is on Dawson by any means. He's still a good defender, and he's still playing well back there, but you can tell teams are figuring out ways to get around the Bandits defense. Like you said, when did they know? Like, they're trying to adjust mid-season to what's going on, and it's good to see them making adjustments, but is it too little too late? Do they need to change their system again? Because it's what they're doing out there is just not working the last couple of games.
Yeah, it's not that it's the overall rule. Like, every team can adjust to it. Every team has to adjust to it because that's the rule it is. I'm just more wondering, when were teams alerted that this is a possibility? Because, again, you can't just flip the defense completely in one offseason. It's going to take
especially
a few
when it's
off
not working
seasons.
so well. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it was built for the system that was in place. And in one offseason,
really well.
They made a complete flip on what style of defense needed to be out there. And again, I'm not fully blaming Buffalo on this one because they're adjusting to what the rules are in place. I would just like to know, okay, were they alerted in, and again, I know the CBA was going on, so that was probably a bigger factor into all this as well. But were they alerted in September? Were they alerted in June, like last year? Were they alerted last year where there was possibility that they might be putting in a rule like this? So I'm just wondering, when were the teams alerted that this could be a possibility, and how much time did the league give them to make those adjustments? Because as much as we would have liked to said, yeah, they're making the adjustments. They weren't called for it at all. They still have the block shots, like lead the league in block shots or up towards the top. So how could this really be affecting them? But we've seen it the last 2 weeks now of how much this rule is affecting them, where it might not be, hey, they've adjusted to this, they're not getting called for it, the block shots are still there. But when you're actually watching the game and how the offense is playing against Buffalo's defense, that Colorado game kind of exposed things where if you're moving the ball quick and you can get inside and get around that defender, there's no backside help because players are afraid to go in the crease. How many times do we see players stop while the player's diving through the crease? Like that Kyle Jackson one, how many years in prior will that guy get lit up by diving through the crease? And I'm not condoning or asking for players to get lit up, but we've said it in the past, there's some times where penalties are good, where in the first quarter, somebody dives through the crease and you hit them, they're not going to continue to dive through the crease. There was none of that. There was no backside help. It feels like that it's I'm not saying that they're afraid to take this penalty of the no shot blocking in the crease type of thing, but it's almost like they're too conscious not to enter that crease whatsoever, that it's affecting the backside help, that it's affecting when players get around you. So I think that's something that, and I do agree with you, that Chugger has made the adjustments. He brought in a Taylor Dooley, or actually I think that was JT that activated him instead of Kyle Matisse to get quicker on the back end. They bring in Mike McConnell to be quicker. You brought up the Mitch Desnu to come in to be quicker. So I do see the adjustments that they're trying to make. I'm just wondering if it's more of a, not philosophy, but the players that are on the current team aren't able to adjust that quickly to this style because of the style that has been working for years and years and years. And I'm not saying that the league is out to get Buffalo. I'm not saying that whatsoever, because so many teams across the league were implementing this because it was working. I understand the reason for it, because games can get kind of boring when you're just packing the house and you're trying to beat three goaltenders. And players around the league on offense have mentioned it. Tyler Pace mentioned it on his show. He goes, yeah, even if I beat my defender in front of me, even if I beat Paul Dawson, I still got to beat the greatest goaltender in the world in net in Matt Vince. So I have to beat like three guys through me to be able to score this. So I after thinking about it in the offseason, I like the rule because it changes things. But I did not know how negatively this would affect the defense. And you can kind of see it. We mentioned it versus Ottawa, that their offense was targeting when Paul Dawson was on Jeff Teat, because Jeff Teat is quicker than Paul Dawson. They were targeting Kyle Matisse out there because Kyle Matisse is slower than Jeff Teat. So I think that it's just overall, I don't think that this is a thing that you can just snap your fingers and fix. Like, I think they're trying to do the best they can in the short amount of time that the rule was put into place, that the season started. But I do think that overall, something needs to change on the back end, because there was way too many easy goals right on top of Matt Vincent. I'm not excluding it. We're going to go over in a minute what goals he led in that I thought he should have back. But I do think that overall, the rule as a whole, looking at it now through 8 games, is playing a bigger factor than we might have used that as a quote-unquote excuse to start the season.
Right, because they used to, again, like you said, it's not the shot blocking necessarily, but they used to stand in the crease, and if somebody got inside, they would step out to go attack that person instead of having to come back and chase that person to block them. So it's just a completely different style, where teams were pretty much never allowed inside back in the day against Buffalo, and now they're having to adjust of teams literally just, again, that Jackson one where he just ran from one side of the field all the way to the other, and just ended up cutting right in front of the net, completely untouched. Like, that needs to change. And like you said, it's probably not something that can happen overnight. And even though they've had pretty positive games at times this year, it still hasn't been the elite Bandits defense we've seen in the past. And yes, they've gone through a ton of injuries and a ton of changes, so you can blame some of it on that, but it's going to take a little bit of time for them to watch the film and figure out, okay, clearly everybody's getting inside of us now. How do we adjust to their adjustment? And the negative about this is that Philly's offense, we've talked about it, isn't great. Are they okay at times? Sure. Do they have some pretty good players like a Sowers, like a Jackson who just got activated, like Leclerc, like O'Neill? Like, yes, but this isn't one of the best offenses in the league that you're going to face. Like, other teams have much better offenses than Philly, and they're watching the same tape that Colorado and Philly just gave you. So it's going to need to be adjusted to, and we'll see what Buffalo can do with that.
Yeah, before we go over the goalies, or Matt Vince goals that got by him, not all on him, let's go over our sponsor of the episode, Tap That Tap Room, 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. It's Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps. They offer a variety of beers, ciders, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages.
PK, on Tuesday, February 10th at 7 p.m. is the Pressed Flower Hanging Lantern Workshop. There are a variety of pressed flowers and butterfly decals provided for you to arrange and create your own hanging pressed flower lantern. Tea lights, Spanish moss, and stones will be available to light and fill your lantern. All participants must have a ticket. At the time of this recording, there were only 10 spaces remaining. For the guys out there that aren't great with Valentine's, not a bad last-minute Valentine's Day gift as it's coming up, just saying. And then this Wednesday and every Wednesday coming up is Books and Brews. Pretty simple. You grab a drink, you grab a book, and you enjoy the calm music and cozy vibes that Tap That Tap Room will provide for you and your tribe during your midweek break. I couldn't find a synonym for vibe that also rhymed. It's not easy. But for other upcoming events, check out their Facebook page. And for what's on tap and what's on deck, check out tapthattaproom.com.
Phil's going to need that calming music after this episode.
Sure, Aunt.
But let's go over the goals that were scored against Buffalo. Less than 20 this week, so we'll go through them. The first one, O'Neill. I thought it was decent defense versus Dawson. I think Dawson could have came out a bit more. Good shot for Brendan O'Neill. I have that one on Matt Vince. I feel like he should have made that save. Shorthanded one, Joe Rezateris. This was just insane defense. Yeah, Dylan Robinson's was a tad behind him, but his stick was right in the hands of Joey Rez. I don't know how he caught it, and I definitely don't know how he put that in with the stick on the wrong side of the body. Insane twister. That one's just, you look at that and go, yeah, the other team has talent too. He's going to look real good in orange next week, right? Right.
Please.
Scott Dominy, shorthanded one. Burn peels off and kind of leaves Dominy to face Spelter one-on-one. I don't know why Burn went right to the bench. To me, that one was a bad decision. You kind of hang out there until Dominy peels off. Like, it's not like Dominy peeled off and went back to the restraining line. He was still moving forward when Burn went off, and he leaves Belter hang out dry one-on-one, both shorthanded goals. The one was insanely good. The second one I thought could have been preventable. The fourth one, O'Neill on the power play, it was a big shot, but you kind of knew O'Neill's game. Like, it went right through the center of the defense. That one, again, I know I typically don't blame power play on the goaltender, but I thought Matt Vince should have had that one. The fifth one right after, another weird outlet bounce, but O'Neill put a big twister on it. I thought Matt Vince should have had that one. The sixth one, Sowers, wires is burned, goes airburn. Nobody behind him again. No backside help. That's going to be a common theme here. So that was one that Wires got burned on. Jackson, Wires is slow to find Jackson. And insane gather and dunk. The eighth one, Sowers, beats Belter low. Again, no backside help from Matt Spanger. The ninth one, Leclerc, McConnell kind of leaves Leclerc. Dawson goes out there and is slow to get out there, slow on his feet, and then he gets beat inside. Again, slow on their feet. This is the common theme. O'Neill on the power play. It's great passing. Another top the shot power play goal. I mean, shot gets by Matt Vince. I think that was the one that just squeaked by him. The 11th one, Sowers. Dawson gives too much space, and Matt Vince, that one I have on Matt Vince as well. The 11th one. 12th one, Jackson loops around. Untouched by the entire defense. I think every single player on Buffalo's defense had a chance to get him, and none of them do. Dives on the wrong side. This guy hadn't played lacrosse in like a month, and he goes out there and puts up the numbers he did. And then the last one, I mean, the jab step that Sowers put on Dylan Robinson to get inside again. Again, no backside help. So it's the common theme of defenders are slow on their feet. If they're going against a fast offense, they're going to get burned, and there's no backside help to help out these guys that are getting burned.
Yeah, Jackson had 2 goals, 5 assists in his first game back.
Insane. Yeah. He signed on Wednesday.
Yeah.
No, Thursday. Sorry, Thursday, because we recorded on Wednesday, and we didn't have that. He signed on Thursday, 2 days before this game, and he looked like he was incorporated in the offense for years. And I was watching this offense just going like, man, this would be cool to have this offense in Buffalo. Yeah, that's how far we've fallen.
Yeah, the O'Neill goals I thought were tough. He's got such a good shot that, like, kind of what you're saying about players just being good. I think Vince was screened on a lot of the ones that O'Neill was shooting, whether it was the power play. I think people were just right in front of him. It was hard for him to see. That twister one is just a wicked shot. I think twisters are just like, I know I'm not an NLL goalie, but those seem impossible to save at all times. Like, it looks like it's going to the left and they throw it to the right. I don't know how anyone's supposed to save those. It's up there with bounce shots to me, where you're just going low and then it bounces way over your pads. I don't understand how you're supposed to save any of those. But yeah, the defense, again, just allowing way too many inside shots. And Vince did have some pretty big saves here and there.
Yep.
Like, there were a few transition ones where he's just on a breakaway and makes the save. I even had in my notes that he had a few really big ones to keep the team in it. And like, it's not like he's doing nothing back there. He still made a lot of good saves. He still made some big saves. Not enough. They needed him to do more because Damoud outplayed him. And I would agree with that, but the defense is just doing him no favors these last 2 games. And I do feel, I mean, bad's kind of the wrong word, but it's tough when he's not playing horrible, but obviously he's getting blamed for everything for some reason. But the defense in front of him in this game and the last game just really left him out to kind of just figure it all out. And again, he's still making good saves. Like, there were plenty of times where I was like, okay, like, that save kept this team in it or kept them from going down. And then the team just couldn't figure out how to capitalize on those saves because Damoud would do the same thing on the other end. And then the opportunities that Philly was getting against Buffalo were more impressive than what Buffalo's offense was able to get against Philly's defense. So I think just it's frustrating to say, but all in all, again, across the board, I think Philly just outplayed Buffalo, which is something that I did not expect to say after going through the preview of this game. But the offense for Philly was better. The defense for Philly at times was better, and the goaltending was better. Like, for one of the worst teams in the league, they completely outplayed Buffalo in every aspect of the game, and it's not a good look for a former championship team.
Yeah, what's insane is with how the defense has been playing and how the offense has been playing, you need playoff Matt Vince, like, now.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
It's not something that we've been known to get from Matt Vince. Like, he's the greatest possible lacrosse player of all time. He's definitely the greatest goaltender of all time. But you haven't needed him to be like playoff Matt Vince in the regular season. To me, he needs to hold opponents to 10 goals or less pretty much the rest of the season for me to feel confident that this team's going to be able to get wins as the team stands right now. And that's not something I ever anticipated saying about this team. But kind of to wrap this one up, I thought Connor Farrell had a very nice bounce back game in this one. I thought he found the outlets well. He was winning clean balls. The only complaint I had was there were a few too many times where he did his patent, win it, and then scoop it back to the other end. Philly was onto that. Like, there were multiple times where Philly was, I know what he's going to do. We're going to leave guys back there and get it. There was one where he won it. Nick Weiss was in the crease because he had to go back and get it. It was a turnover, and Philly scored on that possession. So that's what we mean when the stats with faceoffs don't matter. Buffalo won 17-11. They outshot them, and it didn't matter. They won that faceoff, Phil. They lost. Philly scored a goal on a faceoff win. That's what we mean by it doesn't really matter what the numbers are and what happens at the dot. But I thought overall this was a big bounce back game from Connor Farrell going against Bo Columbus, who struggled the week before. Like, I thought there were opportunities where Connor Farrell should have won them more, won them cleaner, but based on what I saw last week versus Colorado, where to me, I thought he was a wasted roster spot, I thought this was a good bounce back game from Connor Farrell. I thought the players out there were better at getting the loose balls, finding space for him. There was one where he came up clean, won it, and dodged a few players and found an open guy. There was one where he picked up the loose ball that he had no business picking up, but he found it and found an outlet for it. So I thought this was a very good bounce back game from Connor Farrell.
Yeah, I was going to play a little game with you, but maybe we'll do it on the preview of the next game because we still have an entire league to go over. So the preview will be a little easier and we'll take some more time to digest because it's a game we got to digest what's happening with Buffalo right now.
Very fair. Penalties, the McKay one, the letter of the law was the right call, but I didn't think he was acting like a goalie. He just stuck out his stick. Again, that's one of the problems that I have with that rule is even if players just standing in the crease, they can call it. I think the wording on that rule is very bad. And again, I'm not using that as an excuse. I've never used referees as an excuse. I never will because there's a lot more things that happen in the game than one bad call. But I don't like that rule based on how it's being called and sometimes when it's not being called. Belter one, good call. It was a hold. Nanakoke roughing. Did he get pushed in the back? 100%. Did he embellish it? 10,000%. I mean, he dove through the crease and did not try to catch himself. He knew what he was doing. The goaltender interference one, I didn't like that one. Like, Demood came out of his net fully. Nanakoke attempted to dodge him, and they still called that one goaltender interference. I didn't like that call, but again, they ended up scoring a short and a goal on that one. And then Steve Priolo cross-checking one, that was just a stupid penalty by him. I think JT said it in the press conference. You were there. That was a stupid call. It's off a face-off, middle of the field. Unnecessary, dumb penalty by the captain of the team. But overall, I have no problem with the refs. For everybody out there, refs didn't cost Buffalo, and refs didn't allow them just to score 11 goals. Simple as that.
Yeah, I had the Nanakoke calls actually flipped. Okay. I haven't gone back and really watched them, but I was watching when I was in the press box. I have the game on ESPN. I usually go back and watch things so I can get my notes up. The roughing one, I 100% agree. He got pushed in the back, and I also 100% agree with you. Nanakoke is definitely that player that will take it too far, but nothing really happened when he fell through the crease. To call that roughing, the goalie didn't get hit, the other player didn't even fall over. It just seemed like so little happened on the play for me to be like, that's enough for a penalty. Nobody got touched pretty much. He was the one who ended up on the ground. I think the Philly player was still standing. Demood, I don't think, was touched.
He ran into the other defender, and the other defender fell on top of him.
It seemed if you want to give them the ball and a fresh 30 or whatever, fine. It just seemed like a lot for a roughing call. And then the goaltender interference, I did think that, Demood was still in the crease, which is something they like to protect. He did come away from the net, but he was still in the crease, which I feel like they just consider kind of protecting that whole area. And the one angle they showed, it looked like Nanakoke threw a little bit of a hip check at Demood. It looked like
I thought he went out. I thought he was trying to stay out of the crease. Maybe I'll have to rewatch it.
Nanakoke's also that player, though, as you saw.
I think he got called for that goaltender interference because of the roughing earlier in the game.
Probably. I could see that. But again, I don't really care. The refs they weren't the problem. They didn't cause Buffalo to play horrible.
1 of 5 possible milestones happened. 3 weren't even possible because Ryan Benesh didn't play. Ian McKay goes up and over 700 loose balls for his career. Josh Byrne continues to not have a caused turnover this whole season. Let's run through the league. Week 11. Oh, a lot of games. 5 more games to discuss, and we're about 50 minutes in. Ottawa takes down Calgary, gets back to 500, 11-9. They were up 2-0 after 1, 6-3 at half, 8-6 after 3. Calgary actually tied at 9-9 with 8:26 to go, but Ottawa gets the best of Calgary in this one. Gets back to 500. They're 10 games in so far, so they need to stack these wins. There was a big win by Ottawa, and Toronto just keeps thanking Calgary for accepting the trade to Nick Rose. Nick Rose plays 8 games with them, goes back, and now Toronto might have a top overall pick in getting Joey Spolina. I can never pronounce his last name. I apologize. From Syracuse, the top overall draft pick. Yeah, Toronto's going to be filthy. It's gonna
Toronto's just stacking that young talent. Like
Spolina. Got it. I said it in my head and I got it.
Like its own. I mean, this is kind of the game I was hoping for from Calgary. They had a few rough games there. I wanted them to bounce back and just show some life, show some fight, and they did. This is again, from a bottom team that's building for the future seasons, is what I was hoping to see in this game from them. But Ottawa got it done, and their best player looked like their best player, going 4-5-9 for Teat. And they did enough to beat the bottom team. This is the kind of game that, worst case scenario, I was hoping for Buffalo, where your best players come out, do well, your secondary scoring does just enough, and you beat a bottom team, and Buffalo could not do that.
Toronto, they're back. I might have to jump on the Toronto bandwagon. They win 12-10 over Oshawa. I kissed Oshawa's season goodbye last week. It's definitely over now. 2-8. The best they can finish is 10-8, and that means
crushing it.
Hey, play better. It's that simple. You added Dawson Thied, and guess what? Does nothing for you. They're not good right now. And I don't know how you fix it, because all the pieces up front are your young core. And I think it was Jake Elliott that said it on his Lacrosse Classified. Them making the finals might have been the worst thing that could have happened to them, because the expectations for them exceeded and rose so far that they might not be able to reach those again. I think Toronto's back. The offense is finally looking good with the contributions of the veterans, and your rookies are still contributing. Toronto's offense is how I think a lot of teams would like to go through a retool, where they have their veterans and they add superstar young talent to it. So when the veterans go out, the next wave of young players is ready to go. So I think Toronto is going to be a very scary out, and they have a chance to keep sneaking up the standings and host a first-round playoff game.
We'll talk about it in the next episode, but is Toronto a bit of a blueprint for Buffalo coming up?
Maybe.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Thied. He came over and he's lighting it up, and the rest of the team is sunk behind him.
Walker's been terrible this season. Ethan Walker, I complimented him a ton last year. He's been poopy this year.
And even Simmons, one goal, it's just not. Oshawa's just not good enough anymore. And again, for Thied to come over and be a big part of a big trade, and he's doing everything he possibly can, and for the rest of the team to just crash behind him, it's got to be mildly annoying as a new teammate. Be like, I just put up 5 goals. You guys can't help me out a little bit. But yeah, this is the Toronto team that we've been looking for. Again, the young guns complementing the veterans. This is what you want to look like. And Halachuk is absolutely holding his own with a very, very talented defense in front of him.
So Georgia gets the win over Las Vegas, 12-9. I'm declaring it here. And I was on Georgia's case so much the prior 2 seasons by saying, what are you guys doing? You keep running it back. It's stupid. It's, definition of insanity. They make a bunch of changes on the back end, especially. Georgia can win this whole stinking thing. They're that good on the back end. And now Lyle looks like he's getting back to full strength. If Eccleston stays healthy and is another piece on that offense, again, we were saying, if Georgia scores 10 or 11 goals, they have a good chance to win it every single night. Most teams can't say that. And I really think that with how Brett Dobson's playing, with how that back end's playing, and how good their transition play is, if they score 11 goals a game, this team can win the whole stinking thing. That I think they're that good, and that retool happened overnight. Like, man, I would not be shocked if Georgia's in the finals this coming year.
Yeah, and Triolo sneaking in with a goal there.
You did something.
Your best friend. No, yeah, Georgia's a very it's tough to call them a complete team because their offense is still lacking a little bit, but they don't need their offense to do very much when Dobson.
Those Lyle trade rumors went out the window within 5 weeks.
Yeah, and
they're going to be looking to add, not sell.
Yeah, they easily look like one of the best teams in the league
Joey
right now.
Rez.
And I mean, even in this game, they put up 12 goals, and Byrne, who's been one of their best forwards, didn't do much. He only had 1 assist. So the fact that they can get different players to step up on different nights, and like you said, Lyle with a big game in that one as well. They're a good team, and Buffalo's lucky they got them early.
Yeah, the team they might be facing in the finals is Saskatchewan. They win 12-9.
They're so good.
They came all the way back. I mean, San Diego led 4-0 to start. They were up 6-4 at half. Sask led 8-7 after 3. But Saskatchewan, to me, when you're looking at it on paper and the performances they have, since like week 3 or week 4, they've put it together night in and night out of a full 60 from the offense, the defense, and the goaltending. They got great coaches on the bench. Saskatchewan, to me, is the best team. I don't want to say by far, but they're at least a full tier above the next team, which I think is like Vancouver.
Yep.
But if Saskatchewan doesn't make the finals, something drastically wrong happened.
Or they ran into Brett Thompson.
Brett Thompson. But they're sitting 8-1 right now, halfway through the season. They're on pace for 16-2. The finals are probably going through Saskatchewan. The playoffs are definitely going through Saskatchewan. I think at the moment, as of this moment, at 4/12 on February 8th, I think my finals prediction right now is Sask versus Georgia. It's because that would be a fun finals too. That would be a fun finals.
Put some money on it because I'm sure Georgia's betting odds are still
they're probably low.
No, it was a good game, good win for Sask. You can't give them 11 power play opportunities. That's an easy way to sink your team. But I mean, as good of a win as it was, I mean, San Diego for like a confidence building game. I mean,
hanging in there after Phillies,
hanging in there as much as they did. Orig, not great, but not a bad game, taking on one of the top teams, and again, giving them 11 power play opportunities and them scoring 6 power play goals. You take even 3 of those away, and you're right in that game. So even though San Diego lost this one, it's still a good loss for them to have, and it's still a team that could make some noise a little bit further down the season.
Last one, and it got started real early in warm-ups. Vancouver wins 16-15. It was 7-5 after 1 Vancouver, 13-7 Vancouver at half, 15-10 after 3. Like we said, Rochester gets it down to 1, but Vancouver gets the head-to-head overall. They sweep the season series. All the talk, though, was between Subak and Biles in warm-ups. Zed Williams and Charlon Beatties almost got into it, and Kurt had to shut that one down. I guess, real quick, what are your thoughts on them handling it in warm-ups between 2 guys? It's not like there was a full-on line brawl. It's not like multiple guys got involved. It was 2 guys from both teams settling it on the field before the game even started. It was almost like, okay, the league's not going to do anything to Hartley here. We're going to settle it before the game, and we're going to move on with our lives. And I've seen multiple takes about this. I think them doing it in like warm-ups calmed everything down for the most part. Like, you weren't having guys dive at Hartley. You weren't having guys take runs at CDB. You weren't having guys pepper shots at Hartley's head. It seemed like them instantly getting it done in warm-ups, and everybody's saying, like, the kids were on the field. Come on. Like... They formed a giant circle. The kids were on the outside. I know there's this one clip where the kid almost got it on the backstrike. If you see 2 grown adults fighting, why are you standing there? Like, to me, I'm not worried about what the kids see, because guess what? The kids are still going to see it if it happens during the game. Like, not their eyes are going to still see the game, the fight. It's still going to happen. But to me, I thought them settling it in warm-ups and getting it done then actually made for a more entertaining game, because you weren't worried and it wasn't the constant chippiness. Yeah, I know Grant, he kind of body checked Hartley, who came out of his net, and then Gilroy went over and addressed it, and then he got bodied by Owen Grant. But I think overall, them settling it in warmups actually made it for an entertaining game that you weren't worried about the chippiness. You weren't worried at guys chucking it at the guys' heads and taking dirty shots. I thought it settled it right then and there.
Yeah, I think the only difference I would have said is I wouldn't have minded it settled in game, but right away. Like
as soon as the face-off goes down.
Yep. Like as soon as the face-off's in, two guys discussed it before the game. Like, hey, we know like what's going on between the teams. Like we'll both square off, helmets off, everything off, like they did in Toronto between Clark and Gash. Like, square up, have a legitimate fight, and then after that, play. Like after that, you're done. So that's the only change. I agree with you that it's better to squash it right away. I don't really mind that happened to warmups. I would have preferred it during the game, just as like you said,
better
first
camera
shift.
angle. You can zoom in better too.
Exactly. Better highlights, better for the league.
We're relying on
there.
people in the crowd to get the video.
Exactly. But overall, like I would much rather see that than, like you said, the chippiness throughout the whole game, the attitude throughout the whole game. Like you're just asking for players to get hurt. You're asking for the game not to be a good quality game because everybody's focused on just beating each other up. So I'd much rather have them just get it out of the way early, and then you're back to neutral, everything's back to even, and play lacrosse.
So we'll go over week 12 next week. We'll go through the Sabres real quick. They lose versus Pittsburgh. I thought this was the worst game by them in months. Sloppy, a lot of turnovers. Bryson was horrible. They need to rebound after the break, but I think it was Alex Lyon that said it best in the press conference, and I think you sent us all the quote. It's like, hey, maybe this is the best thing that could have happened to us is we got the break speed off of us in the final game, so we get to sit with this and let it eat at us and then come out the last 25 games. But overall, I mean, they're sitting in the first wild card spot. They're 5 points clear of the next best team, but Columbus does have a game in hand. But I went over the remaining 25 games, and 13 home, 12 away. Picks back up on the 25th versus New Jersey. In New Jersey, they start on a 3-game road trip, and their first 4 or 5 games back are all on the road. I went over it even further. 15 Eastern Conference teams, 10 Western Conference teams, 12 more games versus teams currently in a playoff spot. So you need to be able to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat behind you. You got 3 versus Washington. You need to take majority of those. You got 3 more versus Tampa. I'm excited to see those ones. You got 2 versus San Jose, 2 versus Las Vegas, who's in a playoff spot, and the rest of them are just mixed in one games. I mean, you got Pittsburgh on the docket. You got Boston, Detroit, New York Islanders, and then, the 10 Western Coast teams. If you're going to drop any games, drop into the Western Coast teams. Like, you can't drop any games to the Eastern Coaster guys. You got to take, 2 versus Tampa and 2 versus Washington to feel pretty confident. But overall, it's not like it's a gauntlet the rest of the season. 12 games versus teams currently in playoff position right now. I think that's a pretty good ask. And it's kind of split 13 home, 12 away. I think there's not very many close quartered games where it's back to back. You got Wednesday versus Thursday. You got, what else do I got? A Friday and a Saturday. You got a couple mixed in there. But overall, 25 games to finish the stretch here, and you're sitting pretty comfortable in a playoff spot. You're 2 points. Like, if they won versus Pittsburgh, they'd be in the second spot in their conference right now. But overall, I think, was the game stinky poo-poo? 100%. But I think overall, I'm feeling pretty confident this team is going to be able to get into the playoffs and be pretty competitive in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm really interested. I mean, all eyes are going to be on the trade deadline when they get back and what they can do and what Yarmo and his first trade deadline can pull off.
Nothing's stopping him from making deals right now. You just can't make him official.
It's the legal tampering stage. Make all the deals and then sign it in ink as soon as you can. But I mean, it's a good time to look at other teams, look at your team, figure out what you might be able to get, what you might be able to do. So I think, especially with how cramped it is when they get back to how quickly the trade deadline hits, it's going to be really interesting to see what he's able to provide this team to give them that final push and give them that extra player or two to get them through and have them make playoffs, because Bryson is not the answer on defense.
Yeah, I think you need to package Jack Quinn with something else, because he's boom or bust in every single game. Like, if he's not scoring, he's a liability.
Potential for a bad team to still take a chance on him, but
Just send him the highlights of him playing really good. Don't send him any highlights in the back end. And then even if you don't add like a big time goal scorers, Hellenius. I mean, I saw the numbers in the analytics. He can slide right in and be a better Jack Quinn than Jack Quinn.
Maybe get a face-off or power play guy.
Yeah, definitely power play. But that pretty much wraps up this episode. Phil's article will be out on Tuesday. I got an interview coming out on Wednesday. Don't forget Power Rankings out on Thursday. NLL Pick'em. Go to X on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. You can vote there. On Instagram Stories on Tuesday and Wednesday. You, me, and the people went 5 for 6, and our biggest loss was Buffalo. That was our only miss this week by all of us out there. If you want to participate in people's picks, you're only a game back of Phil. It's free to play. You just got to vote. You just got to click a button, Phil. That's all the people have to do. And you can continue to just push my face in the turds because I am getting destroyed in that game. Even when 5 for 6, and it didn't matter because we all picked the same players or same teams.
I'm just going to do that the rest of the season so you can't catch me.
Don't you do it to me. Don't you do it. But we will be back on Friday to preview Halifax versus Buffalo. We'll go over week 12 of the NLL and what games are on docket because it's about time we start looking at what teams need to lose and what teams need to win across the NLL for Buffalo to get back into it because I never thought. They are in double digits of the standings right now, and it's not looking good. So thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Let's see if the outro plays this time, Phil. It did! Follow us, or thank you to Tap That Tap Room for sponsoring this podcast and this episode. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at Buffalo Sports Collective where you can find Phil's article on Tuesday, and then it'll be there forever. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.